In a moment that feels like a scene straight out of a heartfelt drama, BTS's Kim Seokjin, known to millions simply as Jin, was recently spotted enjoying a beautiful day at the beach, but this time not for a photo shoot, performance, or public appearance. This was something far more personal. What brought the worldwide handsome idol to the shores, dressed in comfortable leisure wear and completely glowing with joy. The answer is simple yet heart-melting: family. Jin was seen taking his beloved one-year-old nephew, his older brother Kim Seokjin's son, for a delightful trip to the beach. And from every angle, this wasn't just an ordinary day out. It was a showcase of love, joy, and the kind of bond that transcends global fame. A day of laughter, sand, and sunlight. Eyewitnesses who happened to be at the beach that day couldn't believe their eyes when they saw the BTS member crouching down barefoot in the sand, helping his tiny nephew build a little sandcastle. The baby, full of wonder and glee, was seen giggling as Jin splashed gently in the shallow waves beside him, even lifting him high into the air with playful joy as sea breeze brushed against their faces. He looked so natural, a fan who happened to pass by shared. Jin wasn't the superstar from the stage. He was just this doting uncle, laughing with his nephew, making sure he didn't trip, and even drying his tiny feet. To add to the picture of warmth, Jin wasn't alone. Both parents of the child, his older brother Kim Seokjin and Seokjin's wife, were also present at the outing. Observers noted how they stood nearby, smiling wide, clearly moved by the affection Jin showed their son. They seemed genuinely happy to watch their world-famous brother/brother-in-law bond with their child in such a caring, unguarded way. The superstar with a super soft side despite his global fame, Jin has always maintained close ties with his family, especially with his brother. Fans have followed their warm sibling relationship over the years through glimpses on social media and the occasional shoutouts. But this beach day offered something far deeper, a glimpse into Jin's nurturing side. From carefully adjusting his nephew's sun hat to ensuring he stayed hydrated under the bright sun, Jin's every move seemed to radiate warmth and instinctive care, prompting fans to lovingly declare him the uncle of the year. Even more touching, Jin was seen showing the baby shells on the sand, gently placing them into the toddler's tiny hands as the child cooed in excitement. At one point, the little boy wrapped his arms around Jin's leg and refused to let go, eliciting a big, emotional laugh from everyone around. A moment that moved even strangers at the beach, some of whom didn't even recognize Jin at first, said that the entire family radiated positive energy. One tourist from Busan shared, "You didn't need to know who he was. You just knew this man truly loved the baby. It was pure and beautiful." Another visitor shared that Jin was polite, humble, and incredibly down-to-earth, even helping the family pack up their things when the baby got tired. He held the baby's tiny backpack, then gently carried him when he started getting sleepy. You could tell he was really proud to be his uncle. Fans react. Is he practicing for fatherhood? Once news and candid photos made their way online, armies all over the world couldn't contain their emotions. Social media erupted with hashtags like #UncleJin, #JinAtTheBeach, and #BabyButterandJin, a nickname fans fondly use for the nephew, based on the family's past post about calling the baby Butter. Some fans joked, "So, when are we getting the reality show Jin and Baby Butter Adventures?" While others took a more emotional route. Seeing Jin so loving with his nephew makes me emotional. He's going to be such a great father someday. Many commented on how Jin's beach appearance was a reminder that even world-renowned artists seek joy in the simple, quiet things like family, laughter, and a day by the sea. More than an idol, a man who loves deeply. Jin's beach outing with his family may not have been intended for public attention, but it certainly struck a chord with millions. For all his stage charisma, polished visuals, and comedic flair, this moment peeled back the layers and revealed a man whose most prized role may just be that of a loving uncle. The outing also speaks volumes about how Jin chooses to spend his post-military time. After completing his service, many expected him to dive right into promotions, endorsements, and music activities. But instead, Jin appears to be taking precious time to reconnect with his family, a whisper of what's next. Could this mark a new chapter for Jin? Some fans wonder if this deeper focus on family will influence his next solo project. Perhaps we might hear lyrics about unconditional love, parenthood, or the joy of watching a child grow. One thing is certain. This beach day has reminded fans everywhere why they fell in love with Jin in the first place, not just for his looks or vocals, but for his heart. And maybe, just maybe, we'll get to see more of baby Kim's son in the future. As for Jin, Whether he's serenading thousands from a concert stage or gently lifting a baby sun hat, he continues to prove. The bigger the star, the bigger the heart. It's easy to imagine BTS's Jin on the biggest stages in the world, confetti falling, lights flashing, voices chanting his name. But there's a rare kind of magic when someone who has experienced the height of global fame chooses something far more ordinary, holding the tiny hand of a toddler, chasing waves, and smiling like no one's watching. That's exactly what happened at the beach that day. There were no bodyguards, no flashing cameras, no over-the-top glamour. Just Kim Seokjin, barefoot, sunlit, and entirely devoted to one little boy who, by the looks of it, had completely stolen his heart. The ocean meets a new kind of spotlight for the one-year-old Nephew, known affectionately as Baby Sun by fans online. The ocean seemed like an entirely new world. Every wave crashing on the shore brought fresh laughter. Every grain of sand was something to touch, taste, and toss. And by his side, guiding him patiently through it all, was his Uncle Jin. One bystander noted that Jin crouched beside the child for nearly an hour, drawing tiny fish in the sand and helping the baby press his palms into the wet shoreline. They weren't just playing, she said. They were communicating in a language only the two of them understood. It was a sight so full of love that even strangers began slowing down just to watch them. A brother's love extended to the next generation standing slightly farther back were Kim Seokjin and his wife, quietly watching the scene unfold. Though not public figures like Jin, they've occasionally shared glimpses of their family life, including the immense joy they felt when becoming parents. But this was something special. Seokjin was seen capturing candid videos on his phone, his eyes bright with admiration. His wife, smiling through what many assumed were happy tears, seemed deeply touched watching her son bond so easily with her brother-in-law. She looked proud, another bystander recalled, like she knew this memory would live in their hearts forever. Jin's protective instincts on full display, though the atmosphere was calm and joyful. Jin never let his guard down when it came to the baby's safety. Several onlookers noted how Jin always kept a protective hand nearby, catching the toddler before he stumbled, cleaning sand from his tiny hands, and quickly covering his head with a towel when a gust of wind blew by. Even when the baby wandered off toward a cluster of seashells near the tide, Jin was there in seconds, lifting him into his arms and whispering something that made the child burst into giggles. It was during this moment that someone captured a now viral photo, Jin with windblown hair, holding his nephew high against the golden backdrop of the setting sun, both laughing freely. It didn't look posed, the photographer shared anonymously. It looked like pure joy. The father figure side of Jin we've rarely seen for fans. This day at the beach unlocked a version of Jin that has only been hinted at until now. Sure, we've seen the fun uncle who jokingly plays with younger members of BTS. We've heard his sweet messages to fans about family. But to see him hold a real child so tenderly, to watch him kneel in the sand for hours just to make that baby smile, it's something else entirely. He has father energy, one army posted online, sparking a wave of agreement. He didn't look like he was helping out for the day. He looked like someone who was born to love and protect. And fans aren't the only ones noticing. Even the parents were surprised. Sources close to the family have since revealed that even Seokjin and his wife were moved by how naturally Jin embraced his role that day. It wasn't just a beach trip, it was an awakening, one insider shared. Jin didn't need instructions. He just knew what to do. He made the baby laugh, calmed him when he cried, played until he was tired, and then gently rocked him until he fell asleep. That moment, Jin sitting under a shaded beach umbrella, his nephew asleep on his chest, was described by one passerby as the most beautiful image I've ever seen. Even if you didn't know who he was, she said, you'd think, that man is someone special. The return of a changed man since finishing his military service, Jin has taken a slower, quieter path than some expected. While others might have jumped straight into comeback promotions, photo shoots, or interviews, Jin has taken time for reflection, for family, and for moments that can't be found in front of a camera. Perhaps this beach day wasn't just a day off. It was a symbol of how much Jin has grown.